Black billionaire breaks down at his daughter's grave, unaware she's alive and hiding the truth. The story opens with a devastating portrait of power destroyed. Nathaniel Harris, the tech mogul who built a billion-dollar empire from nothing, is on his knees in golden California sunlight, his muscular frame trembling as he presses his forehead against cold granite. While this father shatters himself with grief at a child's grave, his daughter stands 30 yards behind him in the shadows of an oak tree, breathing, terrified, alive. This creates instant, unbearable tension between the father's all-consuming anguish and the daughter's deadly secret, a truth that could either save them both or get them killed before nightfall. Nathaniel Harris learned about hunger before he learned algebra. South Central LA in the 90s didn't offer many paths out, but his mother, who worked doubles at 2 different diners just to keep their apartment, made him promise he'd find one. He built his first computer from salvaged parts at 14, taught himself to code in the public library, and got a full scholarship to Stanford where he met Marcus Webb, the roommate who would become his business partner. Harris' innovation started in a dorm room with a cybersecurity algorithm Nathaniel developed during his junior year. By 30, he was worth $200 million and married to Maya Chen, a genetic researcher who laughed at his jokes and made him believe in happiness. Then cancer took Maya when Nia was 4, and for 2 years Nathaniel existed in a fog of single fatherhood and board meetings, until Vanessa walked into a charity gala with a smile that felt like sunlight. The whirlwind romance seemed like healing. Now it feels like poison he drank willingly. 8 months ago, Vanessa planned a weekend boat trip to Catalina for bonding time with Nia. Nathaniel joined at the last minute, some instinct he couldn't name. The explosion happened 20 minutes offshore, a fireball that threw him into black water. He surfaced screaming Nia's name. The Coast Guard found debris, her pink life jacket torn and floating. They searched for 3 days. They never found her body, and Nathaniel has been dying ever since, one cemetery visit at a time, while his empire grows and his heart crumbles to ash. The explosion felt like the sky breaking open. Nia remembers fire, then cold water closing over her head, then strong hands pulling her up, gasping into night air. A man's voice, calm and steady, "I've got you, sweetheart. You're safe now." She was too shocked to scream, too cold to fight. The boat that rescued her wasn't the Coast Guard. It was smaller, faster, and the man, Derek, wrapped her in blankets and gave her hot chocolate while the lights of the search helicopter swept the water far behind them. She woke up in a room with wooden walls and barred windows. Derek told her bad people were hunting her father, that she had to stay hidden to keep him safe. She believed him because she was 7 and terrified, and he was kind, in his way. He brought her books and crayons, mac and cheese and apple juice. There was a television but only cartoon channels, nothing that would tell her what was happening in the real world. 8 months in the cabin felt like 8 years. No school, no friends, no father. Just Derek, who sometimes smelled like beer and stared at his phone for hours. She learned to be quiet, to be good, to not ask questions. But children who survive learn to listen, and 3 weeks ago Nia heard Derek on the phone in the next room, talking about her father's heart failing, about doctors and timelines. She pressed her ear to the door and heard words that didn't make sense: thallium, inheritance, 6 months. That night, she started planning her escape. The woman's voice on the phone is cold as January rain, nothing like the Vanessa who used to braid Nia's hair and call her Sweet Pea. Nia crouches outside Derek's bedroom door, barely breathing. "How much longer?" the woman asks. Derek's response makes Nia's blood freeze in her veins. The doctors gave him 6 months. The thallium is working, his heart is failing. Thallium. Nia doesn't know what it means, but she understands poison. She understands her father is dying and these people are killing him. Her captivity isn't protection, it's part of a plan to destroy everything she has left. The woman's next words confirm it: "Make sure you're ready to move on the girl if anything changes. No loose ends, Derek." He grunts agreement, takes another swig from his whiskey bottle. Nia retreats to her room, heart hammering so hard she thinks it might burst. That night she lies awake, listening to Derek snoring through the thin walls. At 3 in the morning, she moves. The keys are on the kitchen counter next to his empty bottle. His phone is charging by the couch. Her hands shake so badly she almost drops both, but she grips them tight and tests the front door. The lock turns with a soft click that sounds like thunder. The forest is dark and full of sounds she doesn't recognize, and her bare feet bleed on roots and rocks, but Nia runs anyway. She runs toward her father, toward the truth, toward a chance to save the only family she has left. Derek's phone has a location history that shows a cemetery visited 3 times a week, always around sunset. Nia knows this is where her father goes. She heard Derek complain about tracking him there, about the old man's grief routine. She hitchhikes using $40 she found in Derek's wallet, hiding in the cab of a delivery truck headed toward the coast. The driver doesn't ask questions when she says her dad is waiting for her. Oakwood Memorial Cemetery glows gold in the late afternoon light. Nia sees the black Mercedes first, then him, her father, on his knees at a small granite stone, his shoulders shaking. She wants to run to him, but her legs won't move. What if he doesn't believe her? What if seeing her kills him right here? Then he looks up, and his eyes meet hers across 30 yards of grass and marble. For 3 seconds, neither of them moves. Then Nathaniel is running, stumbling, and Nia is running too, and when they collide he falls to his knees and crushes her against his chest so hard she can barely breathe. His hands shake as they touch her face, her hair, her shoulders, checking if she's real, if she's solid, if this is possible. "Daddy," she whispers, and he makes a sound like something breaking. Behind the mausoleum, hidden from the cemetery road, Nia tells him everything she overheard. Vanessa's voice. The thallium. The plan to kill him and eliminate her. Nathaniel's face goes from disbelief to rage to something colder and more dangerous. "We can't go home," he says quietly, pulling out his phone. "Not yet." James Carter arrives in a parking garage downtown 20 minutes after Nathaniel's call, moving with the efficiency of a man who spent 15 years in Marine Force Recon before becoming head of security for Harris Innovations. He takes one look at Nia, alive, breathing, real, and his jaw tightens. "I knew it," he says. "I goddamn knew it." In the concrete shadows, Nathaniel lays out what Nia overheard. James listens without interrupting, then pulls out a tablet and shows them maintenance records for the boat that exploded 8 months ago. "Marcus personally signed off on the engine inspection 2 days before your trip. The Coast Guard report cited fuel system malfunction, but I found irregularities in the logs. Someone tampered with it." Nathaniel's hands curl into fists. "You've been investigating this whole time?" "The explosion was too clean, the body never found. I couldn't prove anything, so I kept watching." James looks at Nia. "Now we have proof. We have you." But the relief is short-lived. James runs blood work through a contact at UCLA Medical, a doctor who owes him a favor and asks no questions. The results come back 48 hours later, thallium levels consistent with chronic poisoning over 6 to 8 months. "You have 4 weeks, the doctor tells Nathaniel. "Maybe 6 if we start chelation therapy immediately. Your heart is already showing damage. 4 weeks to build a case, expose a conspiracy, and survive long enough to see justice." James meets Nathaniel's eyes. "Then we'd better not waste time." Nathaniel returns home playing the role of a man who's surrendered to grief. He shuffles through the halls of his Malibu estate, barely speaking to Vanessa, accepting her protein shakes with dead eyes and trembling hands. What she doesn't know is that he vomits every shake into the toilet 30 seconds after she leaves the room, then rinses his mouth with chelating agents provided by James's doctor. The performance has to be perfect, depressed, deteriorating, defeated. James works in the shadows, installing pinhole cameras in every room, cloning Vanessa's laptop, tracking Marcus's movements through GPS tags planted in his car. Nia stays in a safe house in Pasadena with James's sister, Rachel, a former FBI agent who teaches her card games and lets her sleep with the lights on when the nightmares come. Every night, Nathaniel video calls her using an encrypted app, and they both pretend to be braver than they feel. The surveillance footage accumulates like evidence at a crime scene. Vanessa meeting Marcus at the Ritz-Carlton, their heads close together over cocktails. Marcus transferring $200,000 to a Cayman Islands account. Derek Price calling Vanessa from a burner phone, asking about the timeline. Vanessa researching California inheritance law at 2 in the morning, her face illuminated by laptop glow. But the most damning footage comes on day 13, Vanessa in Nathaniel's bathroom, carefully measuring a white powder into his supplement container, her expression cold and clinical as a surgeon's. James zooms in on the label of the container. She returns to her purse, thallium sulfate, industrial grade. "We've got her," he says quietly. The footage that breaks Nathaniel plays at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Marcus is in Nathaniel's home office, his actual home office, invited by Vanessa for a strategy session, leaning back in the leather chair like he already owns it. Vanessa pours them both scotch, and the conversation turns casual, comfortable, the ease of conspirators who believe they've already won. "I should have been the one everyone celebrated," Marcus says, swirling his drink. "I was smarter than him at Stanford. Better grades, better instincts. But he's the one with the Time magazine cover because he's got that inspiring story, the poor kid from South Central who made it big." The bitterness in his voice is acid sharp. Meanwhile, I'm the guy who did half the actual work and gets introduced as Nathaniel Harris's business partner. Vanessa's laugh is low and satisfied. "Well, in 3 weeks you'll have the company and I'll have the cash. Then we can both finally be free of the Nathaniel Harris inspiration tour." "And the kid?" Marcus asks, almost as an afterthought. Vanessa doesn't hesitate. "Derek will handle it when the time is right. She's seen too much." Nathaniel watches this footage in James's surveillance van, and something in his chest cracks. Not his heart, that's already broken. Something deeper, the place where he stores his faith in people. James has to physically restrain him from driving to Marcus's house, from doing something that would destroy their entire plan. "We're building a legal cage," James says, gripping Nathaniel's shoulders. "Not a murder case. Stay with me." Nathaniel stays. But barely. They stage Nathaniel's death with the precision of a military operation. It happens during a video conference with investors from Singapore and London, 40 witnesses watching as Nathaniel clutches his chest mid-sentence and collapses out of frame. His assistant's screams are real. James briefed her 30 seconds before it happened, and her shock is genuine enough to sell the performance. The ambulance that arrives has real EMTs, but they're federal agents coordinating with James, part of a task force investigating financial crimes at Harris Innovations. At UCLA Medical Center, Dr. Sarah Chen, James's contact, pronounces Nathaniel Harris dead at 3:47 p.m. from cardiac arrest secondary to cardiomyopathy. The death certificate is real. The body in the morgue is not. The media detonation is immediate and massive. CNN runs the Chiron, tech titan dead at 38 within an hour. Forbes publishes a retrospective on his rise from poverty. Twitter explodes with tributes. Vanessa gives a tearful statement outside their home, her performance flawless, the grieving widow in black Prada, dabbing at perfectly timed tears. Marcus releases a company memo about honoring my brother's legacy and vision. In a safe house in Riverside, Nathaniel and Nia watch it all unfold on multiple monitors. FBI agents and IRS investigators are already moving into position, executing warrants, freezing accounts. Nia sits curled against her father's side, and when Vanessa's face appears on screen, Nathaniel feels his daughter's small body go rigid. "It's almost over," he whispers. 5 more days. 5 days until the reckoning. The emergency board meeting at Harris Innovations is scheduled for 2 p.m. on a Thursday, 5 days after Nathaniel's supposed death. The boardroom on the 38th floor has floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Silicon Beach, and 16 board members sit around Brazilian walnut, their faces appropriately somber. Marcus stands at the head of the table in a charcoal suit, ready to accept the permanent CEO position. Vanessa's attorneys are presenting documents that grant her controlling interest in the company per Nathaniel's will. At 2:14 p.m., the boardroom doors open. Nathaniel Harris walks in, physically diminished but upright, his hand clasped around Nia's. The room detonates into chaos, gasps, chairs scraping back, one board member actually dropping her coffee. Marcus goes the color of old paper. Vanessa screams, a sound of pure animal terror. Nathaniel's voice cuts through the noise, quiet but absolute. I'd like to introduce the board to my daughter, Nia Harris, who I'm told has been dead for 8 months. FBI agents enter behind them like a wave. Marcus is still frozen at the head of the table when they snap the cuffs on his wrists: embezzlement, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit murder. Vanessa tries to run and makes it 3 steps before 2 agents intercept her: attempted murder, kidnapping, conspiracy. The evidence is read like an indictment: audio recordings, financial transfers, surveillance footage, medical reports showing thallium poisoning, Derek Price's confession obtained 48 hours earlier. Nathaniel watches it all with Nia pressed against his side, his hand on her shoulder like an anchor. The conspirators are escorted out in handcuffs, and the boardroom is silent except for Vanessa's sobbing. Nathaniel doesn't watch her go. He's looking at his daughter, alive and breathing and safe, and nothing else matters. 3 months later, they return to Oakwood Memorial on a Saturday morning when the cemetery is nearly empty. Nathaniel is healthier now, the chelation therapy worked, though his cardiologist warned him his heart will carry the scars forever. He stepped back from Harris Innovations, installed a new CEO who was vetted by 3 separate security firms, and started sleeping more than 4 hours a night. Nia is in therapy twice a week, back in 2nd grade, slowly relearning how to be a kid who doesn't flinch at shadows. They stand in front of the gravestone that bears Nia's name, and Nathaniel pulls a sledgehammer from the trunk of his car. "You sure about this?" he asks. Nia nods, her small jaw set with determination. "I want to." He positions her hands on the handle, closes his larger ones over them, and together they swing. The granite cracks with a sound like thunder. They swing again. And again. Chips fly, the stone splits, and the memorial that represented their darkest nightmare becomes rubble at their feet. Sweat drips down Nathaniel's face and Nia's breathing is hard, but neither stops until the stone is destroyed completely. As they walk back to the car, Nia asks, "What do we do now, Daddy?" Nathaniel lifts her onto his shoulders, something he hasn't done since before the boat, before the explosion, before everything shattered and was slowly rebuilt. The weight of her is perfect, real, undeniable proof of survival. He feels her small hands grip his head for balance, and he smiles for the first time in what feels like years. "Now," he says, "we live."